A man's true wealth is not measured by the size of his house or the weight of his pockets. It is measured by his character when everything is stripped away. For a lie may build a grand palace today, but tomorrow, the truth will come to demolish it. In the heart of Enugu, a young man named Samuel worked as the chief accountant for a massive multi-million-dollar import company. Samuel was a man of absolute integrity. He grew up in a humble home where his father taught him that a good name is better than gold. His wife, Patricia, was a sweet, supportive woman, and together they lived a peaceful life, taking care of Samuel's aging, dependent father, Papa Benson. Samuel's hard work had earned him the complete trust of the company's wealthy owner, Chief Donald. But where there is light, shadows always gather. The company's vice president, a greedy man named Victor, had been secretly skimming millions from the shipping manifest for months. Victor knew that Samuel's sharp eyes would eventually catch the missing funds. "We have to remove this accountant," Victor whispered to his secret accomplice, a corrupt auditor named Sandra, as they met in a dimly lit restaurant. "If Samuel audits the Q3 books next week, we are both going to maximum security prison." "Don't worry," Sandra smiled maliciously, swirling her drink. "I have already planted the digital trail. By tomorrow morning, Samuel will look like the biggest thief in Nigeria." The next day, Samuel walked into the office only to find 2 security guards standing at his desk. Chief Donald was there, his face red with disappointment and fury. "Samuel, I treated you like a son," Chief Donald shouted, throwing a thick audit report across the desk. "Over 40 million naira has been funneled into a private account registered in your name. Explain this." Samuel gasped, picking up the papers. "Chief, I swear on my father's life, I know nothing about this. This isn't my account. Save your lies for the police." Victor stepped forward, acting deeply offended. "We trusted you, Samuel. Out of respect for your past years, Chief won't jail you, but you are fired immediately. Pack your things and get out." Humiliated, shocked, and stripped of his clearance, Samuel walked out of the building with his head bowed, carrying a single cardboard box. When trouble comes, the world becomes a very lonely place. The hands that used to clap for you will suddenly be used to point fingers at you. The news of Samuel's alleged fraud spread like wildfire. Within days, his professional reputation was completely ruined. No other firm would even grant him an interview. To make matters worse, his father, Papa Benson, fell gravely ill, requiring expensive daily heart medication. With their savings rapidly draining, Samuel and Patricia had to make a heartbreaking choice. They sold their car, left their comfortable apartment, and moved into a single room in a noisy, crowded tenement building on the dusty outskirts of the city. To survive and afford his father's medicine, Samuel took the only job he could find, working as a laborer at a chaotic construction site, carrying heavy bags of cement on his shoulders under the scorching sun. His hands, once used to typing financial reports, became calloused and blistered. One afternoon, Victor drove past the construction site in his luxury SUV. He rolled down the window, wearing a smug smile, and threw a cloud of dust over Samuel. "Look at the brilliant accountant," Victor mocked loudly, so the other laborers could hear. "From counting millions to carrying mud. That is what happens to thieves." The other workers whispered and laughed, but Samuel stayed silent. He wiped the sweat and dust from his eyes, adjusted the heavy bag of cement on his shoulders, and kept walking. That night, as Patricia rubbed soothing oil onto his bruised shoulders, Samuel wept silently. "Patricia, sometimes I wonder if God has forgotten my honesty," Samuel whispered. Patricia held his hand tightly. "Samuel, do not lose your faith. A golden coin can fall into the mud, but it is still gold. Keep your hands clean. God is watching." The wicked always celebrate too early. They forget that the higher a bird flies on a lie, the harder it crashes when the wind of truth blows. 8 months passed. Victor, now completely unmonitored, became incredibly reckless. He and Sandra were planning their final, massive heist, a sting that would empty Chief Donald's primary corporate account of 300 million naira before they fled the country. But Victor made a fatal mistake. He hired a young IT assistant named Jude to help bypass the company's dual encryption security keys, promising him a small cut of the stolen money. Jude, however, had a conscience. He knew Samuel from the old days and remembered how Samuel had once paid out of his own pocket to help Jude buy groceries when his mother was sick. One evening, after Victor handed him the encrypted drive containing the fraudulent software, Jude made a copy of it. Late that night, a heavy knock sounded on the door of Samuel's small room. Samuel opened it to find Jude, sweating and looking terrified. "Brother Samuel, please let me in," Jude whispered urgently, looking over his shoulder. Inside the small room, Jude opened his laptop. "Samuel, I couldn't let them destroy Chief Donald completely. And I couldn't live with the guilt of what they did to you. Look at this digital ledger. This is the code Sandra used to frame you 8 months ago. And here is the active plan. Tomorrow at noon, Victor is transferring 300 million naira to an offshore account." Samuel's heart hammered against his ribs. The digital evidence was irrefutable. His hands shook as he looked at the screen. The trap was set, but this time, it wasn't for him. "Jude," Samuel said, his voice turning cold and resolute. "We are going to see Chief Donald tonight. Justice may sleep, but it never dies. And when it wakes up, it comes with the fury of a thunderstorm." The next day at exactly 11:30 a.m., Victor and Sandra were sitting in the executive boardroom, sipping expensive wine. Victor's fingers danced across his laptop screen, initializing the final wire transfer. "Just 2 more minutes, Sandra," Victor smirked, watching the progress bar reach 95%. "By this time tomorrow, we will be sitting on a beach in Dubai, and Chief Donald will be a bankrupt old man." Suddenly, the heavy double doors of the boardroom were kicked open. Victor jumped up, his face draining of color. Walking into the room was Chief Donald, flanked by 4 federal police officers. And standing right beside him, dressed in a clean, sharp suit, was Samuel. "What is the meaning of this?" Sandra shrieked, trying to close her laptop, but a police officer lunged forward and slammed it open, freezing the screen. "The meaning of this is that your game is over, Victor," Chief Donald barked, his voice shaking with a mix of anger and sorrow. "I know everything. I know about the 40 million you stole 8 months ago, and I see the 300 million you are trying to steal right now. Chief, it's a lie. Samuel is framing us again." Victor stammered, backing away toward the window. "Shut up," the police inspector shouted, stepping forward and slapping heavy iron handcuffs onto Victor's wrist. "We have the full encryption logs, your private bank statements, and Jude's testimony. You are going away for a very long time." As Victor and Sandra were dragged out of the building in handcuffs, screaming and accusing each other, the boardroom fell completely silent. Chief Donald turned to Samuel. The wealthy older man had tears in his eyes. He walked over and placed both hands on Samuel's shoulders, bowing his head in deep regret. "Samuel, my son," Chief Donald choked out. "Can you ever forgive an old fool? I let my ears listen to the whispers of vipers, and I punished an innocent, honest man. I am so deeply sorry." Samuel smiled gently, placing his hand over Chief Donald's. "Chief, the storm has passed. There is nothing to forgive." 1 week later, a grand celebration was held at the company headquarters. In front of the entire staff and the local media, Chief Donald officially announced Samuel as the new Vice President of Operations, granting him a massive salary, a brand new estate house, and a significant share of the company's ownership. That evening, Samuel, Patricia, and Papa Benson sat on the expansive veranda of their beautiful new home, watching the sunset over Enugu. Papa Benson, looking healthier than ever, raised his glass of palm wine. "My son," the old man said proudly. "You carried the mud, but you never soiled your hands. God has truly vindicated you." So to every man and woman listening to this story today, do not despair when the clouds of life become dark and heavy. Keep your integrity intact. Do not pay back evil with evil. For the scale of justice may tilt for a moment, but in the end, truth will always weigh heavier than gold. Go forth with an honest heart, and let your light shine. Amen.